Oh no, this is supposed to be recording. This isn't supposed to be streaming. Welcome back to another AlphaStar cast YouTube. I've actually just gotten through casting a tournament called the GBL, uploaded a couple videos on the channel. Hopefully I'll be putting them up here if I know how to do YouTube right. Hopefully you guys will check them out. There's some pretty fun games, but I'm gonna just tell you right now because I didn't clickbait the title. If you like nukes, you gotta check out Supernova versus Symbol, game number 2. Oh my freaking god, it was good. But okay, actually I can't take too much time here. I've just now seen the mini map, and I guess spotted here to the top left we do have our blue Terran, the AI in disguise. It's AlphaStar, with of course their opponent, the very real human player, unknown to us who exactly, but it is a red Protoss at
Master Player.
Well, I meant to say master's level, but you know what? Same difference. I'm not going to restart the VOD for one word. Okay, so it's proxy. This is really cheeky and interesting because we've actually been casting quite a few AlphaStar games where recently the topic has been proxies. Oftentimes it's AlphaStar Zerg getting hit with like a cannon rush, or there was another game where it was like a 3-gate. But all was handled well and defended pretty decently. In this case, though, I do worry that AlphaStar may not see this coming till it's too late type thing. You know, top of the ramp there, just kind of hiding what's going on. Still, for AlphaStar, no vision, no idea that this is coming. SCV picks off a little bit of health from the probe, but for the most part, our human player, funny enough, this isn't super dedicated. I've seen versions of this that work where you're taking the Nexus, your emphasis is still on macro. This Zealot's going to get up here and delay the command center, pick off the SCV, force a lot of defense to be made at home, which happens. Okay, this is something that's manageable though because the Reaper's still close by. Picking off the Zealot and saving your SCVs shouldn't be too out of the question, but for AlphaStar, I don't know how much it's had to face this kind of cheese as Terran. As Zerg, certainly this is not the first time, but for Terran, this might be one of the first we've seen at least. Probe's gonna get picked off to start. Grenade does nothing but eject the Reaper back further. I don't know what that was. We're gonna call that one a big old misclick. But while the SCV does end up dying, this does get handled pretty quickly. The second Zealot's already been revealed at this point. Getting on top of this now is really important because once the Stalker comes out, this gets really problematic. Early game Terran units can kite around Zealots for days, but they can't deal with this follow-up so well, whether it's the Depths or whether it's, in this case, a Stalker. Still, grabbing these two Zealots is huge. That's now a lot of buffer gone that would otherwise protect the units. Bottom right, that Nexus got made, but hasn't actually been utilized for much. Just an extra chrono boost by the looks of things. The Marine died kind of expectedly. Doesn't seem to be a good way to hold this command center, which is really frustrating because you see AlphaStar's actually investing in a bunch of bunkers at the top of their ramp. Really worried that there's going to be more to this. But the Reaper, you know, on the other side of the map, there's nothing here to fight back. The shield battery's not done yet. This should get a couple of probe kills. Oh, unless is that a full recall? Okay. Oh, I like this better. Recalling only one of the Stalkers will drive off the Reaper without giving up pressure, forced here on the other side of the map. If both Stalkers were recalled, this SCV would not be getting targeted down right now. And the Stalker should be able to outrun these Marines, inherently just taking shield damage and nothing else, and delaying the command center even further for AlphaStar, making this increasingly frustrating to deal with. Of course, the damage on the other side of the map just simply wasn't there. The Reaper, you know, got a little bit of damage done, but this didn't exactly stop our player. Our human, though, I will say this much, could have, should have, would have been a little bit better off if they had invested in this Nexus a little sooner. Not in terms of building it. They built the Nexus at a perfectly fine time, but probes weren't being pumped from it. Chrono boosts were being used on gateways. And while this did get, I guess, a little bit of a delay to the command center, ultimately this does finish up. So does this put our Protoss player ahead? I will say in some ways yes, but in most ways not really. Oh, this is kind of a headache. Where I would say yes is, look at this, right? Command center is done and the orbital's finishing up soon, but you know, this made AlphaStar build like 3 bunkers. The mining loss from trying to build this command center was no fun to deal with. AlphaStar actually gets a really nice pick off there with the Cyclone lock-on. And it's following this up with Banshees. This will work, I guess, with the Stalkers. Oh my god, that Reaper from behind. High five to this guy. This plus the Cyclone cleans up most of the Stalkers at this point. And while this one might give its life to kill the Cyclone, it actually doesn't get the kill. But this is really interesting because there's Banshees coming out of AlphaStar. This actually isn't new. Between human players and between AlphaStar, we've been seeing Banshees kind of come back into the game over the last half of a year versus Protoss. I wouldn't say they're exactly great versus Stalkers, but it is worth noting that detection isn't really on the table right now, as it's all gateways and a Twilight Council. No Forge, no Robo. I'm a little worried that these Banshees will get too much done. However, it should also be stated that with a shield battery up, this significantly kills the Banshee's DPS. A little bit of a fun fact there is it takes 2 shots from a Banshee normally to kill a probe, but when there's a shield battery here, it takes closer to 5, sometimes 6 if not micro properly. So it's something where this can really, this not just slows down the damage, this can straight up stop damage for as long as it has energy. But of course, having energy is the thing, and already starting to drain some. That Banshee gets in and ducks out. Cloak nowhere close to finish yet. AlphaStar is going to be very careful and cautious with its only mobile unit out in the field. Perhaps a little worried if something else. We do see AlphaStar actually building missile turrets. This one at the front looks very much like it's for detecting DTs. This one in the main looks like it's just to catch maybe an Oracle or something. I mentioned stealth being a bit of an issue, and it will be still for some time, but that Robo is finishing soon, and we should have Oracles, or not Oracles, pardon me, Observers coming out. Between the Siege Tank, a Cycle, and these Marines, the Stalkers could blink forward, but it'd be very risky to do. Blinking back to keep themselves alive makes more sense. You know what, the Banshee goes in for round number 2, and as stated, as long as the shield battery has energy, this will take a long time to get the kills. It's why a lot of the human players end up bunching them up 2 at a time. The Stalkers did go for a very YOLO blink in. As you can see, that did not work out for our human in this case. That tank does too much damage. Not to mention, a lot of those Stalkers had lost their shields before the engagement even began. Meanwhile, AlphaStar racking up the kills. Some very nice payback here on the other side of the field, bringing the worker kill count now up to 10. There was a second Banshee. Did that Banshee get picked off? No, where's the... Oh, just flying over now, I guess. I wasn't paying attention to the pathing of the second one. Maybe it went home or something, but... first Banshee really does a great job getting damage done, but also, more importantly, keeping the human player at home and not furthering that pressure on the other side of the map, giving AlphaStar the freedom to build up and get this base situated, sorted, saturated. And the Banshees continue to harass. One in the main, one in the natural. Looks like 2 have been picked off so far. And this third one's probably not going to live much longer. But the amount of mining being denied right now. This is a Protoss player on lesser workers, obviously. The pulling off of mining loses significant income. This is a situation where the resources lost doesn't quite reflect how bad this is for a Protoss player now, I feel. 39 probes, no third base. Granted, AlphaStar as a Terran is not exactly rushing towards a third base either. Now Command Center starts up, and a pretty normal timing, to be honest. But I think between 3 siege tanks, no high ground vision for like an assaulting blink. Okay, well now we have the observer coming in. Oh, gets a kill on the Command Center. That was not a cancel out of AlphaStar. That's 400 minerals down the drain. Not too terrible. All right, that's a way to start getting back into this. But let's be clear, we're like talking about starting to get back into this. Banshee comes in again. The shield battery has gotten a little bit of energy since the last attack, but that will be a huge distraction, I'm sure. This Banshee's going to poke in, but the Observer's already out. In fact, recalling the... Oh, no, wait a minute. Recalling the Observer back home to deal with the Banshee? I mean, this is great in terms of saving the workers, but now this Banshee could actually go in over here. Although AlphaStar doesn't know about that. Marines come to the front lines. They don't have stim, nor do they have +1, but all of those are finishing shortly, and oh my god. It's AlphaStar Novation. We have Hyperflight Rotors finishing up here in a few moments. So whether we see continued investment in Banshees or not, and frankly, I imagine we would, Hyperflight Rotors are great. They give so much speed to the Banshees. Really hard to catch and almost impossible to deal with in some select scenarios. And going for the attack in the gateway is nice. It'll remove the warp in location, but frankly, this army, if it had stim, would crush these Stalkers. No questions asked. I mean, look how good the damage is here without stim. Granted, there was the tank shot snuck in there to help too, but finishing off the gateway, going to reduce warp-ins, picking off some of these Stalkers, trying to do some fancy blinking. I see you want to be party over here, Master Player, but even with that slick micro, there's still a lot of cleanup to be done. Well, while the Marines there did get wiped off the face of the earth, there's still like another 11. There's the 6 siege tanks. By the way, the Observer sees all of this, so fully aware that there's no actual committed fight that our human can take in this place. It makes the most sense to go for a third. But oh, let's not forget about the Banshee part of this game. Oh my god, the shields on the Nexus are huge. I just realized that reaches up to like right in front of the Banshee. Thank god there's a friendly fire on this unit. Now, a recall back home will give AlphaStar freedom to take their third. This absolutely needs to be dealt with, by the way. My concern, though, my growing concern is while we've been watching a lot of the same units fight over and over for the last, 3 or 4 minutes, we don't actually have our Protoss player making that big of an advancement. And oh my god, Speed Banshees are insane! Look at her go! But, it's getting to the point now where Twilight Council's on the way. Or, excuse me, Templar Archives is on the way. We don't have, like, a robo for Colossus. Area of effect damage is so necessary when fighting Terran. Sometimes it's about picking off the medevacs, but a lot of the times, not just through AlphaStar, but through our human, I guess, halves of this, you see a lot more parade pushes and a lot less drops versus Protoss. So we're probably going to have some big push down the middle of the map. And, well, frankly, whether it's Psionic Storm, whether it's a Colossus, or whether it's Archons, you just need some kind of splash damage to help chew through those Marines. They're plentiful, but they're weak. And, of course, there's always the tanks on the back line. But, 3 Banshees will have no problem. No chance for the shield battery to even heal any of these probes, so these are going to be for sure kills, and that worker kill count is going to go through the roof. Even with the Stalkers responding in kind with Blink, let's not forget these Banshees are fast enough that 2 out of 3 will likely escape the base. Well, unless they sit there waiting for the Stalkers to get right on top of them. Okay, I take that back. Maybe all 3 will die here. Or maybe all 3 will get away? Oh my god, seriously, Speed Demons! Probes pulled from the natural base for like the 15th time this game. And let's talk about that worker kill count, right? That was like 20 barely by the time this fight began. We're now up to 36 killed probes. And the Banshees, again, through whatever they've done here, it's not about the damage to the probes, it's the map control they've taken away from our Protoss. There's no pressure keeping them from expanding to a third. There's no pressure provided here where there's pylons and warp-ins happening on the field. It's a very, very concentrated force of units, which isn't terrible or anything, but unfortunately, they're all in one location. They're not able to just go around and harass, as I think they would be best suited for against AlphaStar like this. And a couple scans to see what's going on. Marines do have stim this time around. Look at that stutter step forward, too. AlphaStar predicting there would be a blink on the way. Wanted to get as close to the front line as possible. But finally, our human player's going for Storm. I was worried how long this game would even last, much less how long it would take to get Storm out. These are, of course, the old charge lots, so they deal a lot of damage on impact. But that being said, the Marines still chew through them, and it's a mineral-to-mineral trade ratio on this. It goes a lot worse for AlphaStar, but, that was also really important scouting to know, oh, wait, now there's Templar on the field, something that our AI has not had to deal with yet in this game. Now, unfortunately, AlphaStar tends to be its own worst enemy when it comes to getting units stuck in the main base, but between some awkward building and some very strange placement with, by the way, 4 factories? Question mark? Oh, I was just complimenting you on not getting stuck in the main base, and then you go and do this, AlphaStar. Really? Really? Look, I know there's other stuff happening on the map, guys, but I'm just shaking my finger, shaking my head. Regardless of the incredible tank production that's going to come out of this game, which I do find odd because tanks are not inherently that great, this could actually go pretty well. One of the big key things about tanks is when sieged up, they do have 13 range. Oh god, this Banshee is really going down. They have 13 range, so they will easily outrange the Templar and ideally zone them out of these fights, preventing them from getting close enough to do any real storm damage. But oh god, AlphaStar with the Omega Overstim, Jesus. Almost killing all of its own units. Oh, still might. I guess there might be a little bit of focus over here on the backside though with that Banshee. 4th base has been set up. SCV's just finished transferring over. Income, macro. These are the strong points of AlphaStar. And unfortunately, our Protoss player did go for that early cheese. Has not managed to really cause any lasting damage with these attacks. Oh my god, there are like 3 siege tanks now stuck in the main base. I am livid. It'd be a problem if AlphaStar didn't have another 13 out here ready to fight, and those stalkers, like a Dark Soul boss, just got the F out. There was no way they were going to engage in that ramp. Well, unless they wanted to lose the game, then that'd be another story altogether. But again, this horrible building placement is choking out so many of AlphaStar's own units, making this so terrifically awkward to fight. A very strong army to be sure, and this many tanks almost seems like unbeatable, but it comes with the caveat that AlphaStar can't use like a quarter of them, and the half that it can use are getting stuck behind other buildings. I think it's funny. I think it's awful. I think it's funny. Now, these are some pretty good storms that we're zoning this out, but there's still like 5 more Templar with storms fully ready to go. The hardest part is going to be getting close enough through these tanks, but man, that bio is going to melt like butter. There's so much storm energy. I'm a little worried though. Our human player is really overextending quite a bit in several locations here, and you know, even with the stalkers blinking in for the refinery like that, that's risky to say the least. But I hesitate to call this mech because it really does feel like the emphasis of this game is still on bio, but oh god. AlphaStar's now trying to lift up some of the siege things that are stuck in the main. It's so good. This gateway place on the front line looks funny. This is in lieu of a warp prism. This is not a go-to move, I think, for anybody, but this is oh god, oh no, oh tiddlywinks, fall back. Yeah, there's 2 siege things. That's some precious cargo. We have liberators on the way. I guess we should really start talking about this. AlphaStar doesn't usually get to like really late games with Terran, right? Unless it's the TvT. A lot of the AlphaStar Terran games are one and done pretty quick, either through like early pushes or just brute force. We are now 15 minutes into this replay, which, high five, long game's always fun, right? But look at this, the amount of siege tanks, this is ridiculous. Nothing here is supposed to really die to Terran this easily, but walking into like 13 siege tanks and 3 liberators, that'll get her done. The right side's also still defended because the tanks were set up over there. Now grand total of 14 siege tanks. I guess there's still 3 in the main, so I'm really overvaluing the amount of siege tanks in play, but really good effort on that storm. Still though, this was a horrendously bad fight for our human. I feel less bad about AlphaStar taking losses right now because AlphaStar has the economy and the extra command centers to sustain these losses. Our human doesn't really, despite taking a 4th base and just now starting it. There's not really a lot to fall back on. +3 armor is great. I don't know when and how that got squeezed out, but +3 armor helps these zealots tank a lot of extra damage from the bio. But it's not helping much when there's like 14 siege tanks blasting them, which is wild and insane because they're not supposed to be that good. Between things like immortals and zealots charging in, siege tanks aren't supposed to have much power in this game. In fact, a lot of the time what you do is you just enjoy watching anyone's siege up 18. God damn it. 18 siege tanks get sieged up, right? And what you do, 20 even. And what you do is you just walk away. You don't fight them. You fight anywhere else. But oh my god, AlphaStar is making me so triggered right now because, like, again, so many of these siege tanks are stuck in the main. One of them's even sieged up. God forbid AlphaStar loses this game because of siege tanks being in full dirt mode. And by the way, we have cast games like that so far. So I'm a little worried for AlphaStar in this regard, but you know, doing a really great job in pacing. Our human may be a little far behind in the game, but they are keeping up on their own. The supplies, though, don't really lie, and the 57 army supplies are really tough to look at. This is not an army supply comprised of a lot of things that are very malleable. Granted, these Templar are worth far more supply than they represent. They're going to melt down a lot of Marines, but this is a weird game where it's not really so much about the Marines as it normally would be. In fact, finally moving the starport out of the way. We have a fusion core coming up. We may even see this be more about liberators and tanks, and that is at that point of the game where I'm like, yeah, Stargates have got to start up. You're going to need Tempest at some point to deal with the liberators. Guess what? Bonus are going to help with the tanks. So I feel like our human is making a lot of the right moves. They're just kind of, everything here is just really offset by the fact that they're not playing at a normal pace, right? Like, they essentially set themselves behind failing the early game all in. That proxy from what feels like now forever ago. Liberator here needs to be dealt with, but good micro on that Stalker should be able to push it off. However, on the front lines over here, not quite as simple. And while Liberator range is on the way, we have 5 Vikings being produced at a time in anticipation of a counter to Liberators, I guess? There's nothing and has not been anything revealed in this game that says you need to make Vikings. The scan in the main hasn't even seen the Stargate. So, I mean, really, this is a funny call out of AlphaStar that really feels more like an autopilot thing, because there's been no warp prisms used this whole game, right? Not a single one. It's all been proxy gateways and proxy pylons. There's been no Colossus. But I mean, making 5 Vikings is not an over dedication to anything. It's just having 5 Vikings that, by the way, can land and deal bonus damage to mechanical units, which about half of this army is. So I don't hate what AlphaStar is doing. It is just strange, though. This definitely feels like an autopilot thing more than a planned course of action. But you know, takes the initial fight here really well. So our master player might feel like, oh yeah, no, I can definitely deny this base, but that's not actually the case. There are so many more siege tanks just like inches out of range type thing. Liberator range will be done here in just a second, and we even have ghosts coming out. I don't know that we've seen much AlphaStar use of ghosts. In fact, I'm just thinking this might be one of the first. Regardless, EMPs are going to be incredibly valuable here. This does come at a time in the history of Starcraft, by the way, before enhanced shockwaves was an upgrade available for Terran, I believe. So these are just going to be super normal EMPs, but even then, those are still going to be very valuable. This weird tank choke is not really a choke. It's a slaughter. Liberator is not doing anything helpful. I'm not even sure what it's... This is... It's like when your cat's like in the corner looking away. I'm mad. Don't talk to me. It's the Liberator instead. Oh man, these ults are so tanky. This was actually some good damage. The worker count for our AlphaStar is not that high, but also let's remind ourselves that it doesn't need to be. With how many orbitals is this now? 7 orbitals. There's enough mules that SCVs are not that necessary in the game anymore. Get rid of more workers, get more army supply, and win the game. And I think that's what AlphaStar is going for at this point. Oh, these pylons are so awkward. It's slow warp-ins, but it's also just like, how do you sneak these in here without a Terran player noticing? In a lot of situations, you don't. I have 2 more Stargates, and I believe the Fleet Beacon also just finished up as well. So that'll give the opportunity for Tempests. Now, I know some of you are not super Starcraft fans, but just, you know, TLDR here. Tempests are these really, really long-range air units. They're meant to deal with massive more than anything, but even non-massive units like Liberators and tanks and medevacs, these are all things Liberators will theoretically be very good against, but he's got to get them out first. God forbid this fight goes that badly. Oh my god, hold on, it kind of is. EMP lands in the front line. A lot of these storms have already been wasted. And I say wasted because they shaved off the bio. Who cares about the Marines? These tanks need to be dealt with. 4 ghosts out of the front line might not be sniping, but again, those EMPs are fantastic. I don't know about this. Hang on, this is like a real Hail Mary. Going for carriers against Terran, not that big of a fan of. Oh, actually, we have some nice little run-bys here on the sides of the map, by the way. That worker count was at 50, now down to 29. I'll start taking some home field losses, but... Oh, no, breaking! No! No! Oh, God, that was just such a bad move. Let's... You know what? Normally, this is where we'd end the video. Let's just... We're gonna return this. We're gonna rewind like 10 seconds. We're gonna witness this in slow motion, okay? We're gonna witness this in the slowest motion StarCraft offers, because what the hell was that? Oh my god, that was like the worst blink I've ever seen. Now granted, our Protoss player is pretty badly outgunned, but there's some hope at some point those carriers come into play, right? Oh god, no! Total massacre, obliteration, GG, AlphaStar takes the game. Thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure you like it. Leave me a little comment. And guys, I don't know if we'll be at 8K by the time I post this, but we were at like 7,990 subscribers at the time of me recording this. So if you could please subscribe to the channel, I'd really appreciate it. And I'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching. I think I have a crush on Beyonce.
Whatever floats your boat.
No, that's Beyonce.
She had fucked up already.
Beyonce. I think I have a crush on Beyonce.
Whatever floats your boat.
No, that's buoyancy.